The Guardian is the best battlefield tank in my opinion, with some extremely good skills that can be used during fights to help increase damage or turn the tide of a battle. So let's go over everything, and we'll start by checking out its attributes. As shown in the codex here, Guardian has an S in health, which is the highest of all classes, and an A in stamina as his two highest attributes, followed by a B in strength. From this array we can tell he has a stamina to block multiple attacks as compared to a character such as Wilder. With a B in strength we know he is more set up to use strength based weapons, while paired with a shield to absorb as much damage as possible and tank the battlefield. The lower magic stats such as intelligence and faith means you should avoid casting spells and focus more on pure strength weapons. If we look at the Guardian's skills, we'll start with Steel Block. Now Steel Block allows you to plant your feet to block attacks. You'll see the Guardian plants his feet, and therefore we take less stamina when blocking. However, stamina will decrease very rapidly, as you can see in the bar at the top. The trade-off for this is not being able to run, so you will kind of be stuck in a slow crouched position. So while this can be the perfect ability to allow you to block heavy, hard-hitting attacks by bosses or mobs, there is the chance that you'll be affected by magic attacks or even larger scale magic AoEs. So pick and choose your moments carefully with this. Whirlwind is the second Guardian ability, which we can see here. You can charge this up, as you saw, for a larger scale one, or you can just press it for a small scale one, as you can see here. So the longer you charge this, the further the AoE will go. Obviously a bigger AoE means you'll hit more people, more mobs, that sort of situation, but you do have to charge it up for longer, meaning you might get hit quicker. So again, there's a trade-off to it. And then we get to Guardian's ultimate ability, the Wings of Salvation. As you can see here, we do a big attack like that. And then if you hold this during activation, you will actually create a protective area on the ground for you and your allies. In my opinion, the protective area isn't really worth it too much. You don't take damage, but for the short period of time it lasts, I don't really think it's worth it in my opinion. Now, while this ability does do damage to enemies, in my opinion it works best when you use it in a healing capability. If you do Wings of Salvation when you are the last person remaining, you can actually land a very big attack that will revive your downed allies. So instead of, in my opinion, instead of trying to use this as like a bigger DPS style attack, use this as a way to get your team back in the fight when things are going very bad. Okay, so when it comes to using the Guardian, you are going to want to use a shield. You can two-hand a weapon, but because of how protective he is and his great stats, using a shield and being that pure tank on the battlefield is the way to go. So if we start with shields, there are sort of two routes you can go with the Guardian. You can go with the status effect route. This would mean taking a shield that will apply, as you guessed, a status effect. For example, the Shield of the Guilty would apply Bleed. You have other shields you could use like the Coil Shield, this will apply Poison. Or even things like the Marred Leather Shield, which will also help apply Bleed. By taking these, you are significantly increasing your DPS because you can proc these effects on the enemy, causing big amounts of damage. Things like Poison and Bleed are invaluable in this game in my opinion, because bosses have such big health bars that taking those health bars out through these stats effects is an absolute game changer. The other route to focus on is Guard Boost. Now simply put, Guard Boost is how much stamina you lose when you absorb an attack. As you can see here, when we block an attack, we lose our stamina bar, which is the green one. So a higher Guard Boost on your shield will mean you result in losing less stamina when you block an attack. Now why this is so important is because if you run out of stamina to block an attack, you will end up staggered. And staggered, even though it doesn't appear that long, is a surprisingly long time in these kind of games that can lead you to getting hit very, very quickly. And as soon as you get hit once, you're on the floor and all sorts of problems arise. So when looking for Guard Boost, you'll see it under the codex for all the shields, and it's under the Guarded Damage Negation. So as you can see here, for example, the Fingerprint Stone Shield has a Guard Boost of 82. This means using this shield, you will lose less stamina when blocking as compared to the Marred Wooden Shield, which only has a Guard Boost of 49. But with the Marred Wooden Shield, as you can see, it applies Bleed. Hence why I said there's sort of two routes you can go down with this. It kind of depends on what you can find. If you can find a coil shield and all the rest of your shields only have like a 50 guard boost, I would take the coil shield and land the poison. If you're lucky enough to land something like the spiked Plestia shield or the Erdtree Great Shield that have a good guard boost or apply a stats effect like the spiked shield with good guard boost, then I would always take the guard boost and remain as defensive as possible. That's kind of the Guardian's bread and butter, is tanking the battlefield. Very much the stand behind your shield, pull aggro and let the other characters land the big DPS. Now when it comes to weapons, the Codex states that the Guardian has a preference for halberds. However, with a B in strength, any kind of strength-based weapon will work. So you don't just have to find yourself locked into only using halberds. For example, if you wanted to use a Sword of Milos, which has a great sword property, also applies bleed, it's got a B strength scaling, you could take this. If you wanted to go for a Rotted Battle Hammer, again, it's not a halberd, but this is incredible. It applies Scarlet Rot and strength scales with S. So while ideally you do want to take something that has the highest strength scaling possible, if you find yourself in a situation where you have a Rotted Great Axe, then take it. This is probably one of my favourite weapons to use in the game, I love this thing. But don't just rep yourself into only using halberds. Because as you'll see with a lot of the halberds, they scale with strength and dex anyway. The starting weapon for the Guardian, B in strength scaling, a C in dex. So realistically, a lot of the other weapons you'll find, such as the Geezer's Will or the hammers, will only scale with strength, and these actually work a lot better. When it comes to passives, I would recommend anything that boosts your stamina mostly, followed by health or damage negation. These all in turn will affect your tanking abilities. Obviously the more you can tank, the better use you are to the party, because the Guardian's DPS is never going to be the highest. By taking things that are going to boost your stamina, we obviously can block more attacks before fatiguing, our Steel Guardian will last for longer, lots of good things like that. And health, obviously a higher health pool, the more hits it takes for us to go down, and damage negation kind of speaks for itself. So those would be the real big theory things to focus on. You could also focus on things that affect like your resistances to like magic, all sorts of stuff like that, because magic will break through your shield. So please bear that in mind. When it comes to relics, I would focus on things that improve your vigor or endurance, vigor being health, endurance being stamina. In my opinion, these are must because they're going to keep the Guardian alive for longer, and the longer the Guardian stays alive, the longer the rest of your party will. That's just a guarantee. Other things to look for are improved guard counters. These are big damage attacks. You can do this when you block an attack, you'll get a little prompt, you can do your attack, and be a guard counter. So improving these is awesome, and if you can pair it with something like a poison resistance, a bleed resistance, again, you're just boosting that damage negation. Other things to look at, HP restoration upon attacks, whether it's halberds, great swords, whatever your preferred weapon is. And then flasks also heal allies. Now while this might sound a little bit unusual, if you're playing as the Guardian and you're really good at tanking and you've got a decent shield, the chances of you needing to healing are a lot lower. Meaning, when you do need to heal, your allies might have run out of healing flasks. So you can pop a flask, heal yourself up, and distribute that healing around your party as well, helping maintain their flasks because they're more likely to need them the longer the fight goes on. So I really hope you have enjoyed this guide to the Guardian. Let me know what you would change, what other relics do you look for, your favourite weapons, and let me know what you think about Nightreign in total. What is your favourite class to play as, how many expeditions have you done, how many have you completed, and all that fun stuff like that. If you're not already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more. I've got more guides to Elden Ring, to Baldur's Gate, Dragon Age, Path of Exile, Oblivion, Expedition 33, all the amazing RPGs you could ever need. And hopefully, I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.